Welcome back, and thank you for choosing to stay with us. Well, what did you make of the Finance Minister's 2026 budget? Join the conversation by giving us a call on 010-594-6010, or you can send us a WhatsApp message to 072-110-558-4. Let's get more reaction now from Economist Professor Daniel Meyer, Pay the Grants Alfred Moyo, as well as Institute for Economic Justice's Dr. Mzwanele Ntshwanti. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I'll start with you, Alfred Moyo. Just on the grants, the minister announcing today that 292.8 billion rands has been allocated to social grants, but the social relief of distress continues in its current form.
Good evening and good day to the panelist. Can I proceed?
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I think from our side as Pay the Grants, we're not anticipating any much of a change, any good news from the Minister of Finance today. We know that he's an anti-SRD grant. We automatically knew that he will be pushing back against the SRD, which is the 6th year of this grant, never been improved, never been actually increased since the sixth year. So we are not actually expecting any new good news from the minister around the SRD grant especially.
And I mean, it's being obviously not increased like the other social grants. That obviously is a concern perhaps for people that cannot afford or are unemployed. We know that this country is battling with high unemployment rates. So what does this mean for the person who still relies on the 370 rands to get by?
I think it's an ongoing struggle for the poor and the marginalized, more especially those that are depending on this life-saving grant for them. It's a very disgrace and a very shocking news to hear that this will continue unchanged, will continue unincreased, as we've been fighting that this grant should be at least be increased to at least a lower, even if it's not an upper level, a poverty bound. But the minister, as is proven beyond reasonable doubt, that is anti-SRD grant, so he keep it. But we knew that he will keep the grant just for the sake of this campaigning, electioneering. But if it wasn't because of the electioneering, maybe could have done away with this grant, as he proven even before, that he is not for this social relief of distress.
Yeah. Mzwanele, I'm going to just let you go for a second while we try to re-establish your line, because it's not quite clear. But I'm going to come to you, Mzwanele, because you would have heard there Alfred saying that the minister's anti-SRD, but also there are concerns. The minister saying that now they're working on a biometric system which led to the termination of almost 35,000 grant beneficiaries, seemingly that people taking advantage of this particular system. But we know that it's not a new thing. There's been a number of court cases that we've seen, people getting arrested. How does this impact the people that really need these grants?
I think there's quite, thank you very much for having us in the show. I think on this element, there's actually two sides to it, because I think social development has been on a campaign of course to deal with the illegal, so-called illegal beneficiaries of the grant. And the second part of it is the cost-saving mechanism that has actually been done on this. Whether you look at it as a cost-saving mechanism or you are dealing with the so-called illegal beneficiaries, the point here that I think we really should be fascinated about is to why the government would want to wage a war against the poor and the marginalized in a population that is desperately in poverty, inequality, and is out of jobs. Because you have home affairs verification mechanisms, but they've gone a further step to institute other measures to sort of exclude many people that are qualifying. So you have illegal people, but you have people that are also being disqualified by their system that are qualifying for this distress grant and other social grants, by the way. So I think that it is disingenuous from the part of the Treasury and also from the social development to try by all means to curtail many deserving people from benefiting from this social benefits and the grants. So we should not boast that we have taken 400 million or 400 billion from the poor, who are much more deserving of these social benefits, which are in many ways constitutional obligations, by the way, of the state to fulfill.
Yeah, and I'll bring you in, Professor Meyer, because some analysts are saying when you look at government's priorities in terms of spending, this is money that's going to the good places. In other words, there will be returns to where the money is going.
Yes, I've seen in the budget speech from the last few years that they say that the budget spending must have some return on investment. And, you know, the social welfare system in South Africa is the biggest social welfare system in Africa. It has been growing, more and more people, nearly 20 million on the system now. And on the long term, I don't think it can be sustainable from an economic development point of view. The grant maybe keep people satisfied in poverty, but they cannot get out of poverty with this system. So maybe some changes in the whole system over the next medium term is to see how we can get more people out of poverty. For example, if you are in poverty, you get the grant. Can't we train you in a specific practical skill that you can obtain some skill to enter the labor market? But if you just give somebody a grant and he doesn't get enough income to leave poverty, and he doesn't have the skills to enter the labor market, he will stay there forever. So we need to reduce the numbers now over the next medium term and get people into the labor force as far as we can.
Yeah, Mzwanele, let's look at the withdrawal of taxes. I mean, this is something that is widely, welcomed, even by some political parties. But let's talk about what it will mean to the ordinary South African. Some saying that it means that those who are getting annual increases will actually get to have that money in their pockets. It will not be just an increase for inflation purposes.
Thank you so much. I think leapfrogging on what Prof was saying now, you need labor market activation here. This is the biggest problem that this country is facing. And this government continuously for the past 15 years now and does also can admit that they've not been able to do that. Grants have been proven that they are able to activate the labor force. But of course, you are not going to be able to do that with the 350. And the conditionalities that you can put on that are not going to activate the people. So coming to the 40 billion tax relief and withdrawal of this proposal to deal with the bracket creep, the question we should be asking is to who benefits from this? So if you are talking about the 6 million people that are employed in South Africa that take more than 85% of their net wealth and national income, is that what we are going to celebrate, entrenching inequality in this country? What about actually using such resources instead to activate the labor market, as Prof was saying here? And to increase our social as well as care expenditures, health, education, now police, water, sanitation. I mean, that's what we should be doing, so that a fiscal policy is being more redistributive. This is not. This is regressive in making sure that we root out inequality and we expand jobs and productively invest in the economy. So So, I mean, of course, the middle class has been struggling with the cost of living crisis and having to pay quite high costs for social services such as schooling and medical aid so in that front, you know, you're giving the relief, but again, you're going down the path of consumption-led growth, which has not improved this economy. We've seen the fragility of our growth. And it has been particularly because our entire budgeting is based on consumption and there is no productive investment. So you need change in the framing and in where we direct our expenditure.
Yeah, and Professor Meyer, we know that one of the issues that Mzwanele raises is the issue of inequality, which has a direct impact on our economic growth. We now have a projection of about 1.6% in 2026, and we've seen the minister saying to get it to that point, he's announced some 4 pillars. Do you think those pillars are enough to sustain the country and take it forward? Because where we are right now, some are celebrating that we're not where we used to be, a couple of years ago, but some are saying we are in survival mode and are not thriving at all.
Yeah, my comment on the budget overall in terms of growth and development, the budget shouldn't be the main document that leads us into growth and development. It just gives us allocation of funding to different functions of government. And we know that a large amount of the budget goes to the wage bill of government. It goes to the repayment of the interest on debt. It goes to social welfare. But the economic development part of the budget is quite small. So we cannot expect the high levels of growth. We need more than 3% growth. And how do we get there? We need a clear national economic development plan that is implemented, that is accepted by everybody, that we all work together with one goal, and that is growth, creation of jobs. But at the moment, the environment is so difficult for businesses, small business, medium, large businesses, because of the environment, the regulations, the number of regulations, the crime situation, the level of service provision is a problem. So we cannot get high levels of growth and blame the budget only for that. The budget is only an instrument to get there. We need a clear strategy how to get growth going, and then we can see above 3%, and then the people will be pulled into the labor market. People in poverty at the moment will get access to jobs, but we need much more than 1.6%. We need 3%, but where is the economic development plan for South Africa?
And your thoughts, rather, Mzwanele, on this plan to develop and grow our economy?
100% agreed. 100% agreed. What we need here is a macroeconomic framework that works for the people. However, fiscal policy in the form of the budget is an instrument and a tool for that, amongst others. So industrial policy, central bank that is actually oriented towards structural resolutions of our economy. So what Prof then is speaking about is that we need a broader look into how we are using our instruments for that growth, which is actually should be even well above 3%, about 6%, to deal with the issue of unemployment in this country. For an example, using fiscal policy as a tool, today, for instance, the minister announces the 1 trillion that will be used in terms of infrastructure investment in the medium term. That's the kind of direction you sort of want. However, you need more of that. So you shift from the consumption and more on the productive investment, so that you are able to create the jobs that you require. So that's why then the argument was that the fiscal policy expenditure must be then used as an instrument to deal with the structural issue that we have of unemployment and inequality. And as we see now, the investments are very small. I mean, embarrassing, they didn't speak about it, that our investment capital formation to GDP has been on a decline. You know, we are about 13% to GDP, whereas other emerging economies are investing 25% to 35% of their GDP on investment. So those are some of the embarrassing things that they're not talking about, which have kept this economy at a low value chain. So you need to have this economy climbing the value chain so that we're able to be at a competitive advantage with the rest of the emerging economies. Otherwise, we are missing the boat here, continuing for the past 15 years on the same story of fiscal consolidation, which has not yielded the desired outcomes for stability in our economy.
All right. So
the economy is not stable with an unemployment rate of more than 30%, 60% for the youth. That's not stability.
Yeah.
You know. So I don't know why you would then push for budget surpluses and curtailing expenditure on investment.
Okay. I want us to go now to Tsakani, where we find Fakazi. Fakazi, good evening. What's your question tonight?
Good evening, Linda, and good evening to your guests.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, Linda, this is Fakazingwane from Extension 15 in Tsakani. Yeah, I want to make a comment on the budget. Yeah, this to me is a disappointing budget given the high rate of unemployment in the country. It is very disappointing. And another disappointment is that one expected that the social grants will be increased phenomenally, and only 80 rands was added to our elderly people, and only 20 rands was added to the child grants. I feel that is too little. It's a drop in an ocean, given the economics in the country and in the world. And it is very disappointing that there was no stimulus also in terms of creating more jobs, because a lot of youth is unemployed, and one would have expected that more funds be released for the SMEs and the small businesses so that job creation be enhanced. So all in all, it's a disappointing budget. It continues on the issue of the austerity measures. So I feel that it is very disappointing for the poor people.
Fakazi,
it doesn't add the socio-economic challenges facing the country as we speak.
Yeah, thank you very much. Fakazi out in Tsakani. Professor Meyer, Tsakani says more money needed to be put into SMEs.
He's 100% correct there from Tsakane and Ekurhuleni. The needs of the people are good services, housing, and jobs. And who must create the jobs? It's entrepreneurs and small businesses. But as I said, the environment is so difficult for a small business to be established and to grow. And the Department of Small Business Development are not doing much. They're not the best performer of all of the departments. So the whole budget and the whole economic development plan must refocus and see how we can get small business going, develop them in medium businesses, and also look after the bigger businesses, because those are the people that must create the jobs. It's not the government that can create jobs. We want to reduce the government. We must have less ministers, less deputy ministers, less people in government, because the government wage bill is 32% of the total budget. That is totally too much for a country like South Africa. We don't need so many government officials working. We can cut, as one economist said, we can cut it in half and we'll still have the same service delivery. And on the ground level, it is the local government, the municipalities, that must be better funded and better managed, because that is where the services are delivered on the lowest level of government, where they are failing at this point of time. 70% of municipalities are bankrupt or on the way to bankruptcy, and that is a massive risk for the country. So refocus, go back to small business development. We must focus everything, primary school, secondary school, university. Students must have a module or a subject, entrepreneurship development, looking for opportunities for development. And how do we support it from a government point of view, that those people that want to establish a business are successful and can grow that business? Remove the regulations, remove all of the stumbling blocks for small business development.
All right, gentlemen, I want you to hang ten while we take a quick ad break. We'll continue with this important conversation after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still watching Newsfeed PM, the late edition. I'm Linda Mnisi, standing in for Katlego Msomi. We're talking about the 2026 budget speech, and we want to know what you make of it. Join in the conversation by dialing us on 010-594-6010, or you can send us a WhatsApp message, 072-110-554. We're also joined by my panelists. That's Professor Meyer from the School of Public Management, Governance and Public Policy, as well as Mzwanele Ntshwanti, senior researcher at the Institute for Economic Justice. Gentlemen, thank you so much for staying on. I want us to now focus on sin taxes. Those in the industry say, you know what, these affect the bottom line, but also they encourage the illicit trading. It's one of those that we will have and continue to have. Professor Meyer?
Look, sin tax have been there forever, and it is an easy way to collect tax. It's like VAT. The VAT process is much easier to collect the tax. It's much easier for government to collect than individual tax collection. You cannot escape it. But we have seen there's a lot of illegal, especially in the cigarette market, with one of our companies, I think it's the one here in Heidelberg that's going to close down now. It's been there for 50 or 60 years. Going to close down because we cannot prevent this illegal dealing in illegal cigarettes and so on. But the sin tax out there, and I haven't got a problem with it. It brings tax money into the system, and it is a small amount that is added every year. So I think overall, from my point of view, from economic development point of view, the budget was well accepted. It is very stable. It's a very simple budget, and it does what it wants to, what it intends to do. Plus, it is positively seen in terms of the JSE. The rand has strengthened as a result of this budget. So it's a very positive, stable budget. The debt stability is there. So everything that we wanted to hear was there, with the priorities of infrastructure, although it's not enough. 1 trillion rand is not enough. The money going to the municipalities for infrastructure development, that whole amount, the city of Johannesburg needs 10 times more than that for the whole of the country to fix their infrastructure backlog. So it's far too low, but it's a start, and we need to prioritize more on infrastructure and small business development. But the sin tax, I haven't got a big problem with that if it's collected.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Port St. John now, where we found Bongoletu. Bongoletu, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, sir, and good evening to your guests in studio.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. I listened to the budget speech, and I think what I want to touch on is the social grants.
Yeah.
I hear that the government has set aside 292.8 billion for social grants. I do not think that is sustainable. And I also read that there's almost 20 million people who are receiving the 1,070 rand grant. And more than half of that, it is people who are able and people who have the energy to work. I am sure if the government can take that money and adopt an aggressive program to create economic developing, to build factories, to do things that will create jobs, we will go somewhere as a nation. This thing of giving people 1,370, it is degrading. It is not what we want to do as a nation. I plead with the government to stop this grant. It is killing the youth. It is killing the people. Let us get people on jobs instead of giving people little money. That is really, really not going to help in the long run. So I'm not impressed with this thing of social grants, my good sir. It is not going to take us anywhere. It is not sustainable. It is not going to assist in growing our economy.
All right, thank you very much. Mzwanele, talk to us about what the caller has just raised now, but also we have issues of transport, water and energy that we have to deal with. I mean, Treasury was incentivizing municipalities for reaching or sticking to a particular program to turn things around. But it seems, you know, municipalities like Johannesburg are really struggling when it comes to that.
So on the issue of grants, I think as a country, we have to understand that it's not either or. Not only because it's constitutional for us to realize the socio-economic benefits to the people, but also because of the scourge of joblessness, unemployment, and inequality in this country. This is probably why we also run one of the biggest social services in the world. Because there is concentration and our government has not been able to activate the labor market, activate the economy, and grow the economy so that many people participate. I mean, you cannot be in a country where, for instance, about 10% of the unemployment of the graduates are unemployed. You know, so this is not a situation. Really, I beg with people. It's not a situation of where people just don't want to work and want to receive 350 grants. No one would want that. You know, but we have to deal with this. These are our human rights obligations that we have to deal with. But the case for creating jobs by the government, it remains as paramount. So it's not either or. And there is a space, particularly this year. You would have expected that the minister would use that space to go more and more aggressively on creating employment. On the issue of local, I just wanted to mention on this issue as well of illicit flows. You know, we really have a peculiar way of dealing with issues. A lot of illicit financial flows, which also impacts on the revenue mobilization, is actually big business, you know, multi-corporations and safe havens, and not capacitating SARS to deal with these issues in mining, financial services, etc. You know, for instance, now for the past 6 months, we've been experiencing a commodities boom. You know, where are those revenues going to come from? SARS is still not capacitated enough to deal with this. This includes then, leading me to the issue of local municipalities. The incapacity for our municipalities is a disgrace, you know, and it's been manufactured deliberately to suck out the public resources and not deliver their services to the people. And what have you had in response, or as a result, is increasing unemployment, youth in particular, struggling elderly, and sicknesses, you know, bad health and bad literacy rates, as a result of all of that, not investing in the schools, in the roads, in the sanitation, in the municipalities. You know,
Mzwanele, unfortunately,
reports are quite clear on this as well. And we know what we need to be doing, but they just don't. You know, like it was just a one-liner for the minister today.
Yeah, Mzwanele, unfortunately, we've run out of time. That's Mzwanele Ntshwanti, who is the senior researcher at the Institute for Economic Justice, as well as Professor Meyer from the School of Public Management, Governance and Public Policy. Your headlines at the top of the hour.